Good evening, everyone. We're going to move on to the individual as a leader, contingency leadership theories. Learning outcomes. Number 1, state the major differences between behavioral and contingency leadership theories and explain the behavioral contribution to contingency theories. Number 2, describe the contingency leadership theory variables. Number 3, identify the contingency leadership model styles and variables. Number 4, state the leadership continuum model, major styles and variables. Number 5, identify the path goal leadership model styles and variables. Learning outcomes 6 through 10. 6, state the normative leadership model styles and the number of variables. We're in slide number 3. Discuss the major similarities and differences between the behavioral and contingency leadership theories. Number 8, compare and contrast the 4 major differences among the 4 contingency leadership models. Number 9, list which leadership models are prescriptive and descriptive and explain why they are classified as such. Number 10, explain substitutes and neutralizers of leadership. Slide 4, leadership theories versus leadership models. Recall, a leadership theory is an explanation of some aspect of leadership. Theories have practical value because they help us better understand, predict, and control successful leadership. A leadership model is an example for emulation or use in a given situation. It is a sample. All of the contingency leadership theories in this chapter have a leadership model. Slide number 5, Exhibit 4.1, Framework for Contingency Leadership Variables. Effective leaders have an appropriate fit between the leader's behavior and style and the followers and situation. This list of general contingency leadership variables can be used as a framework to place all the contingency leadership model variables for analyzing leadership. So under the term followers, you have capability and motivation. Under leader, you have personality traits, behavior, experience, and under situation, you have task, structure, and environment. We move on to slide 6. Global contingency leadership. Contingency leadership is important to today's global economy. Global companies realize successful leadership style vary greatly from place to place. Effective leaders of today need multicultural backgrounds and experiences. This reinforces the message of the global contingency leadership. Slide number 7, Contingency Leadership Theory. In 1951, Fred E. Fiedler developed the first situational leadership theory. Fiedler called the theory contingency theory of leader effectiveness. He was the first to develop a model to match the leadership style to the job. He believed leadership style is a reflection of personality and behavior and that leadership styles are basically constant. Slide 8, discussion question. Do you agree with Fiedler's belief that people have one dominant leadership style and cannot change styles? Explain. Slide number 9, Exhibit 4.2, Contingency Leadership Model Variables within the Contingency Leadership Framework. The contingency leadership model is used to determine if a person's leadership style is task or relationship oriented, and if the situation, the leader-member relationship, task, structure, and position power matches the leader's style to maximize performance. Slide number 10. Leadership style. When using Fiedler's model, first determine if your dominant leadership style is task motivated, gain satisfaction from task completion, relationship motivated, gain satisfaction through forming and maintaining relationships with followers, and to determine leadership style, complete the least preferred coworker LPC scales. Situational favorableness. Situational favorableness refers to the degree to which a situation enables the leader to exert influence over the follower. Leader-member relations. Better relations lead to more favorable situations. Number 2, task structure. Structured jobs mean more favorable situations. Number 3, position power. The more power, the more favorable the situation. Determining the appropriate leadership style, slide 12. Use Fiedler's contingency theory model to determine which style is appropriate. If your LPC matches appropriate style, do nothing. If you need to change styles, some examples: improve relations, show more interest in followers, structure the task, give clear deadlines, which is very important. You don't want to surprise anyone, and empower followers. Leaders can pass along the power. Autocrat, leaders with weak power can gain power. Look at slide number 13. The Fiedler contingency leadership model gives you that information. Okay, let's move on. Slide number 14, research, criticism, and application. Critics say research supports the model in most situations, but not as strongly in field studies as in lab studies. Fiedler's view of changing the job context is not always easy, says critics. But the model has application as it can explain why some managers are ineffective, no match of style to context. Slide 14 is completed. We now move on to slide 15, which is Exhibit 4.4, Leadership Continuum Model Variables within the Contingency Leadership Framework. Robert Tannenbaum and Warren Schmidt developed a contingency theory in the 1950s, focuses on who makes the decisions. Followers or subordinates, leaders of the boss, leadership styles, boss-centered to subordinate-centered leadership with 7 leadership styles along the continuum, which will be in Exhibit 4.5, and the situation, which is time. We've now completed slide 15. Move on to slide 16. Tannenbaum and Schmidt's leadership continuum model is used to determine which one of the 7 styles to select based on the use of boss-centered versus subordinate-centered leadership to meet the situation, boss-subordinate, situation, and time to maximize performance. You have autocratic to participative as the 2 ends of the continuum. Number 1 is state the decision that is not open to discussion. In other words, this is the way it is. This is not on the table. 2, make the decision and convince employees that it's a good idea. That's pretty autocratic, but at least you're trying to convince people. 3, present decision and ask if there are any questions. Again, you're getting more and more participative. Present a decision that is subject to change based on input. Now we're getting participative. State the situation, ask for a recommended decision, then make the decision. Number 6, let employees make a decision with set limits. And number 7, let employees make ongoing decisions, which is the highest level, which will be totally participative. Move on to slide 17, Leadership Continuum Model. Before selecting one of the 7 leadership styles, consider 3 variables. Boss, based on the personality and behavior, some bosses are autocrats, some are participative. Subordinates, the more willing, able followers are to participate, the more participation should be used, and vice versa. Situation, time, size, etc. of organization is considered. Time is needed for participation. And criticism, unclear when to or how to use the model. That will be one of the criticisms of the model. Slide 18, discussion question. Do you believe that managers today are using more boss or subordinate-centered leadership styles? Slide number 19, Exhibit 4.6, Path Goal Leadership Model Variables within the Contingency Leadership Framework, developed by Robert House. Behavior of the leader influences performance and satisfaction of the followers. Followers of the subordinates, authoritarianism, locus of control, and ability are the terms there. Leader, none. Leadership styles, directive, supportive, participative, achievement-oriented, and situation is environment, task structure, formal authority, and work group. Slide 20, the path leadership, which is Exhibit 4.7, the path goal leadership model is used to select the leadership style, directive support, participative, or achievement-oriented, appropriate to the situation, subordinate, and environment to maximize both performance and job satisfaction. Situational factors determine subordinate follower, authoritarianism, locus of control, which is how much do you take, how much do you think your participation actually makes a difference? In other words, does the buck stop with you? Ability, and then of course the environment, the task structure, formal authority, and the work group. Leadership styles, effect, are comprised of directive, supportive, participative, and achievement-oriented. And goal achievement could be considered performance satisfaction. We now move on to slide 21. The leader is responsible for motivating followers to attain organizational goals under the path goal leadership theory. Motivation is increased by clarifying followers' path to the rewards. That's why it's path goal. Increasing the rewards followers value or desire. Path clarification means the leader works with the followers to identify and learn behaviors that lead to accomplishment and rewards. So it's very clear as to your expectations. Look at slide 22. Situational factors, subordinate. Authoritarianism, extent employees defer to others. That will be the level of authoritarianism. Locus of control, extent employees believe they control goal achievement. Internal, or it is controlled by others. External. So it's either an internal locus of control, the buck stops here, or external, I can't do anything about it. It's something that depends on something outside of my purview. Ability, extent of employees' ability to perform tasks and achieve goals. We now move on to slide number 23. Situational factors, environment, task structure, extent of job repetitiveness, formal authority, extent of leader's position, power, and work group, extent workers contribute to job satisfaction. Slide 24, path goal, leadership style, directive, leader provides high structure, supportive, leaders provide high consideration, participative, Leader includes employee input into the decision-making process. Achievement-oriented. Leader sets difficult but achievable goals and makes the job challenging, which makes you more interested in doing the job. Slide 25, research, criticism, and applications. Research supports path goal theory, but with mixed results, inadequately tested due to its complexity. Criticized by managers because it is difficult to know which style to use, and led to the theory of charismatic leadership. House broadened his theory and now calls it value-based leadership theory. Slide 26, Exhibit 4.8, normative leadership model variables within the contingency leadership framework. Victor Vroom and Philip Yetton asked, when should the manager take charge and when should the manager let the group make the decision? So again, look at different variables: followers, leader, leadership style, and situation. Under followers, we have development-driven decision model, importance of commitment, likelihood of commitment, group support for objectives, group expertise, and team competence. Under leader, we have leadership expertise. Leadership styles would have decide, consult individually, consult group, facilitate, and delegate. In situation, which would be time-driven, decision model, decision, significance. Slide 27. Normative leadership model has a time-driven and development-driven decision tree that enables a user to select one of 5 leadership styles. Decide, consult individually, consult group, facilitate, and delegate appropriate for the situation. 7 question variables to maximize your decisions. Called normative model, as it provides a sequential set of questions that are rules, norms that help determine the best leadership style for the situation. Slide 28, leadership participation style. Decide, leader makes the decision and announces it. Consult individually, leader individually tells followers the problem, gets suggestions, and then decides. Consult group, leader holds group meetings, tells followers the problem, gets suggestions, and then decides. Facilitate, leader facilitates group meetings, seeking in participation and concurrence without pushing his or her ideas. Delegate, lets the group diagnose problem and make the decisions. Model questions. Number 1, decision significance. Is the decision critical to the project or organization? Importance of commitment. Is follower commitment vital for implementation? 3, leader expertise. Is the leader experienced in this type of decision, which would lead to employees feeling comfortable with that decision being made? Number 4, likelihood of commitment. Are followers already committed to the decision? Number 5, group support for objectives. Do followers support the organizational goals or not? Number 6, group expertise. Are group members experienced in this type of decision or not? 7, team competence. Ability of individuals to work together as a team. Now look at Exhibit 4.9 on slide number 30. Instructions for the normative leadership time-driven model are given. Instructions: the model is a decision tree that works like a funnel. Define the problem statement and then answer the questions from left to right as high, H, or low, skipping questions when not appropriate to the situation and avoiding crossing any horizontal lines. The last column you come to contains the appropriate leadership participation decision-making style for the situation. You can look at it on your own time. But you have to have 3 things in mind. Focus, making effective decisions with minimum cost. Value is placed on time. No value on the follow development, and orientation, short term. Discussion question, slide 31. Do you agree that time is an important situational factor to consider in selecting a leadership style for the situation? Explain. Normative leadership development-driven model. Instructions: the model is a decision tree that works like a funnel. Define the problem. Answer the questions left to right using H for high, low for low, skipping questions when not appropriate to the situation, avoiding crossing any horizontal lines. The last column you come to contains appropriate leadership participation decision-making style for the situation. Okay? Focus, value, and orientation. Discussion question, now, slide 33. The normative leadership model is the most complex. Do more variables improve the model? Slide 34. Appropriate leadership style. To use a normative model, you must have a specific decision to make, the authority to make the decision, and followers to participate in the decision. Use the best model for the situation and ask appropriate questions. Some questions may be skipped. Follow the decision tree to find best style. Slide 35. Research, criticism, and application. Research supports the model with a move toward higher levels of participation, greater empowerment, and use of teams. Critics say that the model treats decisions as single episodes and assumes leaders can effectively use all 5 leadership styles. Not popular with managers who find it too cumbersome. Popular in the academic community. Slide 36, a discussion question. One group of authors believes that Fiedler's contingency leadership model is the model best supported by research. However, a different author believes that it is the normative leadership model. Which model do you believe is best supported by research? Explain. Slide 37, Exhibit 4.11, names given to the same 2 leadership behavioral concepts. You can look at it on your own. Slide 38 is another graph, Exhibit 4.12, putting the behavioral contingency leadership theories together. Slide 39, prescriptive and descriptive models. A prescriptive leadership model tells the user exactly which style to use in a given situation, just like a prescription for a drug. Contingency and normative leadership models and descriptive leadership models identify contingency variables and leadership styles without specifying which style to use in a given situation. Continuum and path goal leadership models. Slide 40. Okay, Exhibit 4.13, substitutes for leadership variables within the contingency leadership framework. Substitutes for leadership include characteristics of the subordinate, task, and organization that replace the need for a leader or neutralize the leader's behavior. Followers are the subordinates, leader is none, situation, task, organization. This happens when you have a group of people that know exactly what they need, things are laid out clearly, and they may not necessarily have any need for true leadership. Slide 41, substitutes and neutralizes, variables which substitute or neutralize leadership. Characteristics of the followers, you have to have a certain type of person that doesn't need a leader. Ability, knowledge, experience, and training. If you know your stuff, you don't need to be led as closely or at all. 2, characteristics of the task. Clarity and routine, intrinsic satisfaction. So if it's a routine thing, you don't need close leadership. 3, characteristics of the organization, formalization, flexibility, and cohesive work groups. Slide 42, leadership style and situation. Leaders can analyze how these characteristics substitute or neutralize their leadership style. Leaders can change the situation rather than their style. Substitute leadership can be used to complement existing leadership. Slide 43, research, criticism, and applications. Research supports some aspects of the theory, and other aspects remain untested. Critics say for many substitutes, the former leader is merely replaced by similar leadership behavior, so it still exists. Application includes strong evidence that situational variables directly affect job satisfaction and motivation. Slide 44, discussion question. Which contingency leadership theory do you think is best? Which contingency leadership theory do you actually plan to use and how? If you don't plan to use any, give a detailed reason for not wanting to use any of the models. Slide 45, key terms used in tonight's lecture: contingency leadership model, descriptive leadership models, leadership continuum model, leadership model, normative leadership models, path goal leadership model, prescriptive leadership models, substitutes for leadership. Thank you for joining. Have a great evening.